Hello guys, how are we doing? I know it's been a while, but I'm now back from my travels, back from the summer, and have got back into school. In fact, it's probably been about a month since I've been back in school, but life has been busy. There's been a lot of changes at my school. For one, I have moved from one classroom to another, and in the process of doing so, lots of things have had to move, I've had to prep new things, and the start of the year is always a little bit crazy. But I am back and I'm gonna be putting out some content, especially because over the next few months is the lead up for those of you that are interested in teaching abroad to start applying and looking at potential positions for the following academic year. And that is what this video is all about. I have done a video like this previously, which I will link below, but I thought, having been here for a year now, I will do a bit of a refreshed video talking about how you should look, where you should look, how you should apply if you are interested in teaching abroad. Let's get into it. Where to move to. So this is actually, might seem like a bit of a silly thing to start off with, but where to move to is a big one, because I know a lot of people, I was included in this myself, want to get away from their home countries, whether that is the UK or elsewhere, and they're not really sure on where to go. Now, from my experience, I hadn't actually ever come to the UAE prior to getting my job and flying out here for it. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you have to have traveled a country before moving there, but there are certain things that you're gonna need to think about: the religion, the culture, why you actually want to leave your home country to move abroad in the first place, whether that's financial, travel, extra opportunities to broaden your horizons, I don't know. But have a little think about that first. Now, obviously I'm out here in Abu Dhabi in the UAE, but it might be a case that coming to this part of the world isn't quite right for you, and you would rather go somewhere in Europe, somewhere in America, somewhere in Asia. So do your research, have a little think about the kind of places that you might want to go to, and then narrow your search down to those areas. How to find the right school for you. Now, this one is a little bit more trial and error. Now, obviously, if you were to apply for a job at a school in your home country, you would easily be able to go and have a look at the area. You could figure out what the school is like from driving past it, and maybe even actually asking to have a little tour around and a look as a prospective teacher. Moving abroad is a little bit more challenging because the school is going to be in a different country, and it may well be halfway around the world. So there are additional challenges to it. My recommendation is to do your research into the schools that are within the area that you are interested in. You can do that through social media, LinkedIn, online places like YouTube. You can look at reviews, because there are lots of different review sites for schools as well. Have a look at the website that the school has. That's often a really good place to start. And if you think that it's a school that you might be interested in, just apply for it. One of the things and the opportunities that I got was to be interviewed by a couple of schools before moving out here, and I got an impression on those schools based on those interviews. So it can be a bit of trial and error, a bit of research, and going with your gut instinct. Number 3, where to apply. Now, there are a few different avenues for applying for teaching jobs out here in the UAE, and indeed all over the world. The option that I went through was to look at a website called TES, T-E-S. Ignore the dog's tail. I'm not even going to stop recording. I'm just going to keep going. So I went through a website called TES. Basically, it is like a one-stop shop for all jobs, pretty much globally, for teaching roles. Whether you are applying for a teacher, a principal role, a head teacher role, deputy roles, assistant roles such as classroom assistants and so on, all educational based roles are available. You can choose the country, you can choose the type of job, and they're all there. That's the option I went through, and I found my job on there. But there are also other options, including LinkedIn. I am now quite big into LinkedIn out here in the UAE and again internationally, and lots of places, schools around the world pop up. You can see advertisements for jobs on there, so that's also a really good place to start. And actually, whilst we're talking about LinkedIn, LinkedIn's a great place to sort of get your face and your name out there. Start sharing things. If you're interested in a school or an area, start following different schools. You will start to get attention drawn to you before you've even looked at the jobs. websites by going direct through the school website, but again, with that, you need to know the schools specifically, and then you've got things like social media and other platforms. There are plenty of places to look. I would recommend starting with tests and going from there. And number four, how to apply. Now, how to apply will really vary on the school and what the school is after. When I first started applying to come out here to the UAE, I applied for lots and lots of different schools, from individual, independent private schools, some public schools, all the way through to bigger chains of schools. And the application process will vary from school to school. I've had resumes and CVs with cover letter. That's been a very popular option, and you send it to the school or via whichever route that you are applying through. I've had full application forms where they want me to detail everything that I've been doing, or all of my teaching experience and education and stuff like that. I've even had some schools request small videos of me teaching. At the time, it was still during lockdown, so they wanted me to send them a video of me teaching virtually, which was quite interesting. So all of these steps could happen, and these could be methods that the school asks for. So you just have to see what the school wants and do your best to provide what they want. Whilst we're on this, one thing I will add as well is when I was applying through tests, I noticed that within the job application through tests, there was a description, and the schools all were very, very clear about what they were looking for. Maybe they were looking for someone that had IT specialism, or had proof that they'd worked with English as an additional language, or special educational needs children. So when you're applying through those methods, whilst this isn't what the video is about, I'd strongly recommend you looking at those and making sure that within your application, you have at least noted your competencies in a few of the areas that they're asking for. Number 5 is interviews and job offers. Now, I'll be honest, with the interview side of things, this could take anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months for you to hear anything back. And sometimes, and is often the case, you might not hear anything back at all. And it's frustrating, but my view was always make it your job to get the job. So once you've put an application in, move on to the next one. Now, with the interview process, again, it will really depend, because you are probably looking at an international position, or you will be looking at an international position. They will be virtual, and unfortunately, depending on where you live, they could be at a ridiculous time in the morning. I know a few of my interviews were at like 4:30, 5 a.m. and I had to be up and in a suit in my apartment ready for that time. But you may well find that you go through multiple interview processes before you hear anything back from the school. Once you've gone through the interviews, and they are fairly similar to what you would expect from your own home country, obviously they won't necessarily see you actually teaching, whereas in your home country they'd probably ask you to take a small lesson so they can see you in practice. But they will be trying to figure out what kind of a teacher you are based on the answers that you provide within the interview. In terms of the job offers, now this again will really vary. First of all, what I would recommend is figure out whether or not the school is what you're after based on that interview process. I found that really useful in listening and speaking to multiple members of staff, being able to ask multiple people lots of different questions about the school, about life out here, getting lots of different perspectives. So that might even help you decide whether the school that you've been interviewed by is a school you'd like to work at. The next step is the job offer. Now, if you have decided that the school that you've been interviewed by is actually a school that you are actually interested in, my next suggestion is to wait for an offer to be sent to you. So they will send you a letter offering you a position. And within this letter will detail things like their expectations of you. You want to get involved as well? Your benefits, wage, all kind of things like that. Now, they will want you to give a verbal yes or no, but obviously until you've signed contracts, nothing is confirmed. Either way, have a little look through that letter and then make a decision based on that. That letter will also include any extra benefits you get, like housing and so on and so forth. Yeah, I know, I need to give you more attention, don't I? That leads me on to number 6. The board is just a bit of a mess right now, but when to apply is what it says, if you can read that. Depending on when you watch this video will depend on whether this is up to date and relevant or not, but effectively from September, October time through to December, January, people will still be offering and looking, at the beginning of the following year. But typically that's sort of like winter time period is when international schools are going to be looking for new staff. And the reason being is because in the lead up towards the end of the year, schools have to start to make a plan as to which teachers they're going to have for the following year. So for instance, in my school, an email will be sent out around October, November time to get an idea as to whether or not existing members of staff are planning on renewing or continuing their contract for the following academic year or not. And obviously it's in that process, if people have secured jobs elsewhere, whether in country or out of country, that they will start to know that they need to make up different members of staff. And being on the international circuit means that people will often stay for a few years, go somewhere else, new people are going to want to be coming in. So pretty much every year, most schools will have certain positions available. Whether they already have people lined up for those positions or whether they want to externally recruit is up to the school. But that is something to bear in mind. So start looking throughout the winter months. But there has been examples of people even being offered jobs around July and August before a September start. So if you are watching this video and it's sort of coming towards the summer, don't panic. Things will be available, but not as much as in the winter months. So I'm going to wrap the video up now. I hope you found this useful. Like I say, I have done a video very similar to this, and there's probably many points that I have made twice, but I thought I would sort of reinvigorate it and pop a new one out. And also videos tend to disappear and get lost on YouTube. So here we go. This is a bit more of an updated version. If you want to know anything in particular, especially if you're planning on moving out to the UAE in terms of paperwork, etc., comment down below or go over and follow my Instagram and drop me a message over there. Or just scroll through some of these previous videos over the last year. You will find a few talking about life out here in the UAE and teaching in general. But yeah, I am going to leave it here. Good luck if you are applying to become a teacher abroad, whether that's in the UAE or further afield. I wish you the best of luck, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out. Bye. You want to be involved? Or are you just going to chew my knee?